Okay. So welcome to the Instructional Policy Committee meeting, and we're pleased that you're able to join us. We have an agenda to work through. Would one of our board members like to welcome the group too?
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Val McKittrick, and I'm happy you can join us for our instructional policy meeting.
So our minutes from the last meeting need to be approved. Shall we do that first?
Sure. I'll make a motion to approve last meeting's minutes.
Second.
Okay. So our minutes are approved, and we will move forward with today's consent agenda. And up for discussion is the graduation flexibility. And I'm pleased to be able to share that information with you. House Bill 67 was signed into law on March 21st, and it allows some graduation flexibility. And we would like to present this to the board through instructional policy, and then again on Monday night at the board meeting, if this committee agrees, so that we might have that flexibility that the governor has allowed in place for our high school seniors. It's a very short window of flexibility. The governor signed it into effect on March 21st, and it expires at the end of September 30th. But this flexibility would allow us, for students who were impacted by the pandemic, to look at end of course exams and award credit for the proficiency, the state tests, when we are in that position where we need that credit for graduation and they've met graduation requirements. So I don't know if you've been able to review the information or if you have questions that I can explain a little bit more about. It's a pretty straightforward opportunity for our students to have more flexibility to meet the graduation requirements with credits and with competency or with seals.
Yeah.
So is it that they get credit if they don't have to take the end of course exam if they've passed a class?
If they've already taken the exam, but maybe they were going to retake it, they can use the end of course exam grade in their class and equate it. We can equate it to the credit on the ELA 2 test for graduation. So if they get a C, there in the document, a letter grade of a C would translate to a score of a 3, just for this spring only. So it's a one-time, because our students have been affected by the pandemic. Some parents have decided not to have them come to school. And we are giving the tests, so many will use the tests in a traditional way. This is just another pathway for students who were negatively impacted by the pandemic. So it would require that the board adopts this as a policy and gives the superintendent the authority to use this year until September 30th.
Yeah, I appreciate the flexibility it affords our students. I think it's a nice workaround for the kids who couldn't come in to take those tests.
And I see Mrs. Mansfield has raised her hand.
Thanks. She's trying as she's trying to drive home at the same time. Real quick, that's okay. Can you tell me, since I'm not looking at it, I apologize.
Okay.
Is it the best of? So say they do come in to take the test, but they don't do well on it, but they have maintained a good grade, or vice versa. Does the best of apply?
The superintendent can use the end of course grade as an equating for their graduation. So they could take, they may have already taken the test and not gotten that threshold grade. In in all cases, they've already taken the test because it was administered in 9th grade and 10th grade for ELA and algebra. So we can use this for our students who would have to retake the test. So they've already taken, just as last year they had to already have taken it, our students will have already taken it unless they're, moved from
Okay.
another district.
Perfect. That makes sense. Thank you so much.
And it's mostly for that permissive nature of end of course grades translating. And it also gives us the opportunity to waive the American history exam, which we're still administering it because our students may need that for an honors diploma or a seal next year, for that citizenship seal. But it wouldn't penalize them this year if they wanted to earn that. So it's a very small window. It's very permissive for end of course exams and that equating to a score of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so we'll present it on Monday, and we were hoping to ask the board to consider this the first reading, and then the second would be Monday, and we would ask that they suspend the third, so this could be in place before our graduations start, so that we wouldn't have the unhappy circumstance of a student not graduating and then the board taking action and allowing other students to graduate.
Right. I like it.
Okay, so that was the first item on the consent agenda, and the graduation flexibility policy that's written there is very brief. It just says, as a result of House Bill 67, we are going to allow all the regulations contained in that law to apply to our graduating classes this year, because we know it expires on September 30th. When we hope the pandemic will be in our rearview mirror and our students will be thriving and in school, and the world will look different.
Yes, please.
So that is the first thing. And then the other agenda items is the summer school plan. And I know Dr. McWilliams-Woods wanted to give you a brief preview that will be a part of that board presentation on Monday, so that you can see the webpage and know what's happening there with summer extended mystery camp at elementary, and some ways to earn cash explosion is Mr. Black's wonderful idea of an enticement for summer school, thinking that it really helps their earning potential, a student to get money in their pocket, because graduation means money in a job or in a lifestyle. So he's got some really cool ideas of ways to encourage high schoolers to participate in our summer enrichment programs, extension, enrichment, and catch up for students who may need it. So I know that on Monday there will be a bigger preview for you of that whole summer rollout.
Well, and we also got in an email from Dr. McWilliams-Woods. There's a presentation in the email. Oh, there she is.
We speak her name and she appeared.
Hi, Dr. McWilliams-Woods.
I apologize. It's so nice having people like Karen Dick, though, that can step in when I'm still on a call that I couldn't get off. So I apologize. So Mrs. Gijic, can you want to update me?
I do.
Okay.
We, the board welcomed everyone to instructional policy, and then we reviewed the board policy that we're going to ask for a suspension of the third reading, or the second reading, and go straight to the third and approve it. And Ms. McKittrick, Ms. Autry, and Ms. Mansfield are in favor of us doing that, and in support of having that opportunity for our students to take advantage of another way to qualify for graduation for those who need that special additional way. Most of our students will not need that because they've already completed and earned their competency score on the end of course exams.
Right. But
Then
we might as well take advantage of it again. And I'm hoping, I don't know if Mrs. Gijic said this, but I'm hoping that now that we've done this for a few years, that this whole trend of looking at multiple ways to demonstrate your knowledge becomes a permanent solution in the state of Ohio. That would be great advocacy for this board to have ODE see the light, that this is a better way to be able to have multiple ways like this to be able to demonstrate your knowledge and skill. Just like the universities are stepping further away from using the ACT and the SAT as this huge part of, acceptance, it's the same concept, that there's multiple ways that you can show and demonstrate your knowledge, and that's what we need to be pushing for. Mrs. McKittrick, were you going to chime in on that?
Yeah, I was going to agree, essentially. Yeah, I appreciate that they are seeing that, are allowing some flexibility in showing competency or proficiency.
Yeah, a lot of states have also moved to, instead of just like the computerized answer these questions, either multiple choice or essay, they've also built ways to demonstrate your learning through presentations and through developing, doing research projects and then showing your results. And that's how you demonstrate your proficiency versus, paper, pencil, or a computerized test. And they have been doing it for years. And that's also the space we should be in as a state, that we should be supporting, that not all kids should, and being able to demonstrate on a multiple choice test your knowledge feels so outdated and so kind of old school, that it's all more about being able to communicate and be able to convey ideas and be able to stand up in front of people and problem solve. And that's what we should be encouraging. And if the state would shift to that kind of assessments, guess what will happen in the instruction across the state? People will be instructing that way to have kids be successful in the assessment. And that is exactly what the state wants us to do. So you have to match the assessments to the way, that more inquiry-based kind of instruction.
And then Dr. McWilliams-Woods, I gave a flyover, the very highest of high flyovers of summer school. And they already have a detailed explanation from you. So we were then just ready to move to the instructional updates from CCAA, if that's your pleasure.
Sure. Did you talk about some of the marketing type things that are going to happen too about summer school?
I talked about what the mystery camp, I talked about theme. I didn't talk about the marketing, so I apologize for that. I talked about
that's okay.
the Black
That's okay.
Cash explosion and using that money, the way to entice kids, that it's their earning potential, it's their lifestyle, it's their money in the pocket by getting credits that you don't have to worry about later, and building that future story. So,
yeah, the only other thing I just wanted to mention, because you all have talked about in this group the importance of that outreach to families in lots of different ways to make sure they're aware of all of the offerings that we're doing this summer. And Monday is live. We'll have live the whole registration process, besides the save the date things that are up right now. But we're doing I'll just read off some of those marketing strategies that Mark Williamson and Joanne Isaac, who works out of Mrs. Gijic's office. There'll be one-page summaries. They call them like rack cards that have a summary of all of the elementary offerings, middle school and high school, that will go with the interim progress reports that are coming in another week and a half, and in report cards, and any that can be distributed anytime that families are around or can be mailed out. There'll be flyers for each program. The student Chromebooks will open up to the summer school screen that shows all the offerings. So that'll be the first thing that every time a student opens their Chromebook and turns it on, it'll be the first thing that shows. There's individualized program flyers that the counselors can also distribute. When you click on the website, it will have, for every offering out of the 30 some offerings, you can click through it to get to a more detailed flyer and then the actual registration. It'll be in our district weekly update newsletter, District Community Connect. It'll be sent out to all the media outlets. There'll be social media kind of scheduled posts that go out via social media, emails to families, and then all calls. So we're sort of hitting lots of different, and the rack cards, I would love for you all to, we can either, have them dropped off at your place so that whenever you're talking to folks, even if you're doing virtual talks, we can give you links to be able to post or put in the chat when you're talking, even in ward meetings and things like that, just to we're trying to do a huge marketing kind of campaign around it so that families understand the breadth of what we have, but then also that they can pretty much schedule, especially elementary, can schedule almost through every day through the summer, the way it's been organized. And this is the first time we're really trying to massively put every single program together cohesively in a plan, which will be great. So that is, I wasn't going to highlight because I was trying to keep this meeting short. We just had to get the graduation piece in. We moved, Mrs. Autry, we had Kenya scheduled to do the school improvement PowerPoint and all of that to start to really dive into the different designations. I didn't think on a Friday evening we should do that whole meeting, so he's scheduled for the next time, and we moved up the next meeting so that we get like a full meeting in before the next board meeting. So we moved it up, and so we'll have that presentation. He's done a very, very detailed presentation for you to get us started on the priority schools so that we can work through that. And so then our usual College and Career Academy and I Promise attachments are there that you can take a look at. And I think Mrs. Mansfield and Ms. Daughtry and Ms. McKittrick, there are some policies that always come through us like this because it is a like whole 100% instructional policy. Do you want to speak to it during just when it's on the board agenda, that somebody make a comment at that point just to kind of reinforce and explain why we're asking for the waiver? Do you want to do it at that point? Is that the easiest? And then during instructional policy, I know the superintendent wanted me to just showcase the website, just show it for a minute, not a formal presentation, but just to sort of announce that all of our summer offerings are now live with registration.
It makes sense to me to do it when it's at the agenda, when we're at that point in the agenda. That makes the most sense to me.
Okay.
I
But
agree.
I would refer to my colleagues.
No, absolutely agree.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay. I'll write it up that way, that just, Mrs. Gigic could write some comments about how to introduce it and make sure that they understand what the good news of this flexibility is. Okay. Anything from you all in preparation for Monday's board meeting? There really weren't. On purpose, I hadn't pulled any other agenda items off of the agenda because I knew we were the graduation, I wanted to make sure we had time to talk through that, and then the school improvement pieces that we'll hit next time. All right.
No, but I'm looking forward to the school improvement pieces and learning more about all of those components. So I'll look forward to that.
Yeah, I don't know if Ruth if she hit on the right dates for all of you. Did she reach out to you about moving up our next one? Because our next one typically before the next board meeting would be just an email update. so she was wanting, we were talking about moving our normal one, which would be 2 meetings away, up so that we could get that in before the next meeting, that school improvement. Because Kenya worked hard on that too, and I wanted him to have that opportunity sooner than later. And we were gonna, the way we mapped out the presentation is to focus on kind of each category at a time. So focus on priority status first, and then dive into that, talk about the schools, look exactly as to why they're in priority status. And then the next meeting, we would do the focus schools and look at the criteria for that, how to get in and off of status, and then look at the schools. And then there's a watch category that could be the next meeting. So to kind of segment it out so that we're looking at each designation.
We do have it on our calendar for May 4th.
Okay, perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, I actually had the opportunity to look at the PowerPoint when we were waiting for the meeting that we postponed.
Yeah.
So my eyes were crossing
I know.
because I think it was ridiculous. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And so the other thing I was going to mention that I didn't see is, and it's related, but it's not, but it is related, are voucher eligible schools. I didn't see that
Okay.
on the PowerPoint. So,
Okay.
but yeah.
I'll make sure. Yeah, it is. His perspective was, it's so complicated. I need to give them the detail of like the law, but we weren't going to actually go through those, but he wanted you just to have the detail. And we were just going to focus more on the list of the schools and just reference and talk through the eligibility. But he felt like it is so complicated that you have to have the language and the narrative behind it to understand it. But
You need the glossary. You need the glossary.
it is a lot, right?
So.
Yeah. All right. I will definitely include the voucher eligible information too. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend. And we'll see you Monday night.
All right.
Everybody.
Thanks, Ellen.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.